Cooking with Cathy and Cody. Fresh fruit salad. Written by Edward Alan Kurtz. Cathy and Cody in the kitchen. Cathy and her twin brother Cody liked to help their mom and dad cook in the kitchen. Their parents liked them to eat healthy food, so there was always plenty of food in their refrigerator and in their cabinets and pantry. They used mostly fresh things when they cooked. Their parents knew that too much junk food was not good for them. And Cathy and Cody had learned that making their own food was fun. Plus, it tasted better when they made it themselves. One day, their mom asked, "What would you like to make today?" The Magical Menus website. They weren't sure. "How about fruit salad?" asked their mom. "Okay," they answered. They got out their iPad and went to their favorite website. It was called Magical Menus. It had lots of recipes for healthy dishes and a special feature, a small magic wand at the bottom of the page. They found a recipe for fruit salad. "It asks for apples," said Cathy. "We don't have apples," said Cody. They knew what to do. When they were cooking and were missing an ingredient, they would tap on the magic wand. Poof! They were gone. The farm. Where did they go? A second ago they were in their kitchen, and now they were standing in front of a farm. It was owned by Mr. and Mrs. Jones. There was a big red barn with a white silo and an old white farmhouse. There were lots of fields and animals and a big vegetable garden between the barn and the farmhouse. As they walked towards the garden, they saw Mrs. Jones stooped over picking some tomatoes. She didn't hear them coming. When she looked up and saw the twins, she screamed, "Ah!" Mrs. Jones. "Ah!" Cathy and Cody screamed when Mrs. Jones screamed. They jumped back away from the fence that surrounded the garden. "I'm so sorry," said Mrs. Jones as she smiled and laughed. "I didn't mean to scare you, but I didn't know you were there." "Hi, Mrs. Jones," said the twins. Mrs. Jones had been picking tomatoes. Now she put her basket of tomatoes down on the ground and walked towards the gate of the garden. The twins picked themselves up from the ground and walked to the gate to talk to her. Talking in the garden. Mrs. Jones opened the gate and invited the twins to go inside the garden. "I want to show you something," she said. They walked through the garden until they came to the tomato plants. The twins were amazed at all the tomatoes hanging on the plants. "The green tomatoes are new. Later they will turn red." "What brings you to our farm today?" asked Mrs. Jones. "We want to make fruit salad," said Cody. "But we need some apples," said Cathy. Just then they saw Farmer Jones and his dog Wally walking towards the garden. Farmer Jones. Farmer Jones was wearing his old bib overalls and a straw hat. His dog Wally followed Farmer Jones wherever he went. "We have visitors," said Mrs. Jones. "Well, hello there, Cathy and Cody," said Farmer Jones. "We haven't seen you two here at the farm for a long time. You must be cooking something today. What are you making?" "Fruit salad," answered Cathy. "But we don't have any apples at home," said Cody.
Apples, eh?
Said Farmer Jones.
We can help you with that. Let's take a little walk.
Looking for apples. Farmer Jones led the way, followed by Wally and the twins. The twins said goodbye to Mrs. Jones, who went back to her tomatoes. As they walked, Farmer Jones asked the twins,
"Do you know where apples come from?"
The twins thought for a while, and finally Cody said, "The produce section of the supermarket?"
"Ha ha ha!" Farmer Jones laughed. "That is really funny," he said. "So many people don't know where food comes from. Follow me."
They walked past the barn and soon came to a field with lots of trees. The apple orchard. "Look at all the apples," said Cathy. "There's so many of them," said Cody.
"This is where apples come from," said Farmer Jones. "This is part of our farm. It's called an orchard. And an orchard usually has fruit trees. This is our apple orchard."
The twins looked down a long row of trees. "How do the trees make the apples?" asked Cathy.
"That's a good question," said Farmer Jones. "After winter is over, leaves start to grow on the trees, and then little flowers appear. And that's how fruit begins, as a flower."
From flowers to fruit. The twins were very interested in what Farmer Jones was saying.
"Bees fly from flower to eat nectar," he continued. "The flowers have some yellow powder called pollen. The bees move some of the pollen from one flower to the next, and this is what makes the flowers start to turn into fruit."
"Wow," said Cody. "Bees are very important." "Are there other kinds of orchards?" asked Cathy.
"Yes," said Farmer Jones. "There are orange orchards or orange groves and other kinds of orchards. Come, I'll show you."
Walnut trees. They walked to the next orchard.
"These are walnut trees,"
said Farmer Jones. The twins looked up and saw the dark walnuts hanging from the trees.
"I know you don't need walnuts for your fruit salad," said Farmer Jones, "but I just wanted to show you another kind of orchard. Now let's go back and get some apples for your fruit salad."
They left the walnut trees and started to walk back to the apple orchard. When they got there, Farmer Jones helped them pick some apples and put them into 2 boxes to take home. Back to the farmhouse.
"You'll need to wash the apples before you use them," said Farmer Jones, "and when you cut them, you'll see the core in the middle. This is where the seeds are. You can cut out the core and throw it and the stem away."
They left the orchard and headed back towards the farmhouse. Cathy and Cody each carried a small box with a few apples in each box. Wally tagged along behind them. Farmer Jones led them past the barn and the hen house, along the big vegetable garden, and then to the side door of the farmhouse. Back home. Mrs. Jones was in the kitchen making a snack for everyone. After that, it was time for the twins to go home. They didn't have their iPad, so they used the magical pantry in the kitchen. Mrs. Jones handed them their boxes of apples, and Farmer Jones gave a secret scroll to Cody. "That's something for you to look at later,"
said Farmer Jones. They all said goodbye, and Mrs. Jones closed the pantry door. Poof! The twins were back home. "Ready to make fruit salad?" asked their mom. "Yes," said the twins. "Let's get started." Fresh fruit salad recipe. Ingredients: 2 apples, 2 bananas, 2 oranges, 1/2 cup raisins, 1/2 cup apple juice. Directions: ask your parents to help you cut the fruit. Peel the skin off the bananas and the oranges. Wash and core the apples. This means to cut the inside, the core with the seeds, out of the center of the piece of fruit. One way to do this is to cut the apple into quarters or 4 pieces, then cut out the center part with the seeds. Cut all the fruit into bite-sized pieces. Put all the pieces of fruit into a big bowl. Add the raisins and the apple juice and mix. Cover the bowl and put it into the refrigerator for an hour or 2 so it's cold when you're ready to eat it. And don't forget to check out the secret scroll of Farmer Jones on the next page. The secret scroll of Farmer Jones. Apples. Food group, fruit. Season and availability. Available all year long. Description: apple skins can be red, green, or golden, crisp and crunchy inside. Taste: most apples are sweet, while a few are tart. Uses: apples can be eaten raw, used in salads, cooked soft to make sauces, and baked to make pies and other desserts. Cultural uses: apples first came from Central Asia, but they spread throughout Asia and Europe and were brought to North America by European colonists. Apples appear in the religion and mythology of several cultures like the Greek and Norse cultures. The Secret Scroll of Farmer Jones. Health benefits: brain, circulatory system, fiber, heart, immune system, nervous system, prevention of cancer, diabetes, and reduction of bad cholesterol. Warning: eating too many apple seeds can be bad for your health.